So about a year and a half ago, Gary and I were at a homeschool conference in Orlando, Florida, and we met this wonderful couple named Randy and Kristine LaBarbara. And we loved talking with them, but they actually have a more unique setup for homeschooling. Their dynamic looks a little different than the traditional, and we just thought it would be really great for you to meet them and hear their story of how they homeschool and what it looks like for them day to day, because Kristine actually works full-time and Randy stays home with the kids and homeschools.
Yeah, so we just thought it would be interesting for people out there to learn by hearing their story, maybe some tips and tricks that would help both the mom and the dad in their roles respectively, which are traditionally the mom stays home and the dad goes to work. But since the roles are reversed, it's just really interesting to find out from each one of them how we can learn things from that. And as a dad, I'm on the working side where I'm challenged a lot to really jump into the mix of homeschool into the schedule that's set by Shyla, which has to be like maintained. And I'm challenged to just really try to jump into that, like when I get home from work and on my days off. It's really it's an adjustment. It feels like it's a new adjustment every day. I'm still getting used to it, and my kids are, my oldest one's 10, so but yeah, we're hopeful that by hearing their story we can all learn something and grow, as homeschool parents from it. So
yeah, they offer a really unique perspective, so let's get started.
So we've been married a little over 10.5 years. We have 4 wonderful kids, ages 8, 7, 5, and 3. And we got into the homeschooling journey about a little over a year ago. Yes, right?
Year and a half, yeah.
Yeah. So time has flown. We feel like in some ways it's been a really long time, but other ways it's gone by really quickly. Been a really huge blessing. Lots of learning opportunities. We're learning every day ourselves of just how to navigate it, how to raise the kids, discipline the kids appropriately when needed, and also just encourage their own learning all along the way. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got into it.
A few of the reasons were we were very unimpressed with the local school system, which in Florida where we are is supposed to be one of the best, sadly. But we did have them in public school, the oldest for kindergarten first, and she was not challenged at all. And then our second he's in the middle of the pack and he did all right, but we still wanted him to be challenged more. Like being lower, I just didn't see as getting a 60% is not acceptable. So we wanted a good biblical foundations for our kids in the first place. We also we're not opposed to them hearing, like lack of a better term, the other side's perspective, but if you only talk one way, you never hear another side, you never hear an understanding. So that was challenging to gift our kids to someone for 7 hours a day for 9 months or so. It was like, no, it's probably a better way.
And we had talked about putting the kids, like taking them home for education when they're older, like 5th, 6th grade. I never expected it to occur prior to that, and so a little over a year and a half ago, when Randy mentioned, hey, let's go to the homeschooling convention, I was like, are you sure? Like, we have 4 kids. Like, that's crazy. Like, how will we manage that? How will we navigate? And really, like, the burden was on you, right? And so it's like, okay,
I don't see it, but yes.
I'll have an open mind. I'll go to the homeschool convention. We'll check this out. Probably won't happen. I wasn't thinking at the time. But we met a lot of great people, including Gary and Shyla, and just people who were able to encourage us a lot on just how to navigate into it, to where by the end of it, I was like, all right, I'm in. We're doing this homeschooling thing. And so a few months later, we started, and lots and lots of learnings along the way, lots of challenges. Initially, the kids had to unlearn some of their habits that they had picked up, the older 2 who were in traditional public school. It was an adjustment for all of us, and an adjustment with all of us, or I say you, being at home just with the kids 24/7, basically. So those early days were a challenge.
Yes.
But like many things, with Randy leading, it was helpful for me to learn how to submit, right, to his desires to homeschool, and just to, God was patient with me and leading me to that acceptance as well. But it's been a great journey, and again, lots of learnings, but lots of challenges, lots of tough days where I would get home from work and be like, just take the kids. I need a break. What do you think has been most rewarding for you?
getting to, I don't want to take this away from you especially, but getting to be there through all of it and seeing the little tiny milestones of understanding the math, or being able to sound out a word, or to read one page all by themselves. Like, that's getting there, to be there for that is wonderful. But also, I don't think they could have had the. I'm not knocking a school system. It's the way it's designed. But when it's 1 on, lack of a better term, 20, it's not their fault. It's not a teacher's fault. It's just very challenging to do well with all of them. So we're able to do 1 on 1, 1 on 2, and 1 on 3, 1 on 4, and they're all different curriculums or ages, so it's challenging. But the thing that I like seeing the most, not because it's a burden off of me, but when our 8-year-old is reading a book to our 5-year-old and 3-year-old, or the 7-year-old is doing the same, or teaching their math curriculum, and I learn so much as a teacher, and they're learning again as a teacher. It's wonderful that they get to work with their brother or sister and teach them, and there's a little bit of respect, but it's also between the two of them, but it's also certainly a benefit to a parent. But just to sit there and watch it happen is wonderful to see. But there's certain things that I can't teach them, not because I don't. It's the way I say it or the way I teach it, and she can either say it at a different time of day or in a different fashion, and it gets through. And same with the other kids, they can say it or at a different time or a different fashion, and it gets through to them. And it's very appealing that we get to be a part of all of that and get to say, like, we're constantly trying to figure out, hey, when is this child the sharpest? When can he read? When can he do math? When can he write?
Yeah, I think some of the expectations we had going into it, just based on reading we had done or different people we had talked to, is like, okay, we have a kindergarten age or a first grade age, so we only should need to do school for this this much time per day.
Yeah.
And when you incorporate several kids, it definitely doesn't go according to the book, right? In that way.
No.
So some days it will take what should take 30 minutes, an hour for that age ends up taking all day, but again, it's just great to get to be with them. It's not every day that's like that. And
it's often. Especially when you're spread, divided by second grade, first grade, kindergarten, and then there's a toddler wanting attention, not terribly unreasonable.
Randy and I both have different teaching styles, so I'm very much a list person, get things done on the list, and he's much more about taking the time to make sure that they learn it, as opposed to just jumping to the next subject. And so that's been something I've learned from Randy along the way. It's not always about getting through all the things on the list. Sometimes it's more important to take the time and adapt the day to accommodate for what the child needs for that day, learning wise.
Yeah.
What did you do for work before that?
I sold, designed, built, installed cabinets, storage solutions, offices, entertainment centers, custom furniture on occasion. Yeah, it was
And you had your own shop, right, out of your house?
Well, not in my house originally, and then we bought a house, and I had a shop there. And since we had the shop there when our first one was born, it was very easy for me to dial back work and stay home and only do part-times. I took her on a couple jobs with me, and a little sleeping in the carrier, and then it just got to be too much. 1 kid, I dialed it back some. 2 kids, we dialed it back a lot more. 3, I threw in the towel. It just didn't work. It's, if you can't be a good caretaker, parent, husband, worker, business owner, because I gotta be respectful to my clients too, and if I can't even do anything for them well, it's not worth it.
Okay, Randy, so we're men, and we are in a mix of homeschool. We have different roles. I work like your wife works. You stay home like my wife stays home, so it's really unique. But as men, we also have responsibilities as leading our families, leading our wives, and leading our children. So with those things in mind, what are some things that we as men can encourage other men, maybe watching this, to be reminded of that are very important for us as, homeschool dads and just men in the home in general.
My role as a teacher is separate than my role as a leader or a husband or a father. They all roll into each other, but I still have to do all of them well. We have the ability here as homeschool parents, and I have it as a homeschool teaching dad, like full-time teaching dad, that when someone says, "What's this?" I can stop and we can do that. What is this? Why is this? How is this? And I can push our math lesson aside and we can work on what this word means and where it came from. So that's part of my teaching and part of my leading, as leading our family, or I can turn it into a discussion of how, this, if it's a word problem, a couple plus a couple, and you say, what's a couple? A couple is two. A couple is two. A couple is a man and a woman, which is a husband and a wife, which is an entire hour worth of discussion with a 7, 8-year-old. And it's the opportunity that we have to do that. And it's not just like, no, this is 2 people plus 2 people is 4. Yeah, I could be done in 10 seconds, or I can turn that into an hour. So it's an opportunity that we have to lead more, and I love that opportunity.
As we just take our families on these adventures, there's things that happen when you're camping with your family that just wouldn't happen anywhere else. Challenges, but also really great times.
Yeah.
Like last night, the campfire, telling stories, but then 4 a.m. cleaning up the toilets overflowing. It wasn't very fun. But what are some things you can maybe share that some ways that we can even take advantages of times like this to educate our kids along the way as we travel, as we just do life as homeschoolers.
My parents took me to the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia when I was single digits, I don't know how old. And it's different being able to be there than to see it in a book. And we have that opportunity. We saw the lock and dams around Okeechobee. We just drove together and spent time together. We see all sorts of different animals at different zoos or aquariums and things that we get to experience with them. And then it always turns into there and in church especially. What does this mean? What's this mean? What is this? Why is this? Last night, we had a lizard in the camper. Well, they're cold-blooded, and that's why they're really slow moving, and that's why I could catch them very easily. What's that mean? And for what little knowledge I have, I can explain it. One that loves just reading books, and one that loves looking at pictures of cars and trucks and buildings and bridges. But they're totally different. But when we're driving around, experiencing travels, we can do those things. Yeah.
I'll ask one more question. So how can how can you encourage men who have homeschooling wives at home? It's another, you're doing their role. How can the men who are working be a better, how can we be encouraged to assist or be there for our wives, and what ways are important?
Putting me on the spot here. If I could serve my wife in 10 ways, now I need to do it in 12. And I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, it's just the way it is. It's not her fault, it just, she's come to expect certain things. So if that doesn't happen, whether it's words of affirmation or physical touch or gifts or a couple others, quality time, and I forget what the other one is. It's unfortunately, it used to be just like quality time used to be like sitting next to each other. Now it's sitting next to each other and having a conversation. It's or it used to be sitting next to each other and having a conversation. Maybe it's sitting next to each other, having a conversation and planning something, whether it's a trip or your budget it's just a little bit more because we need a little bit more. So that's, I would say, for the parent that is away from the house compared to for the parent that is at the house, I'm not gonna say as shallow as give them what they want, but help that flourish. Hey, if you like going out with your friends an hour a month, make it an hour and a half, or no, go 2 nights, or whatever. Or if you like to if you like to shop, sure, go as long as you want today. And you still have the same amount of money. just go as long as you want. If you just need time away, just go. or anything within your own personal boundaries.
So Kristine, what do you do for full-time work?
Yep, so I work for a technology company local in Jacksonville, and I've been there since 2019, in 2019, so I've been there a few years.
Wow, wonderful. So what's it like for you to be kind of like the strong adjunct support for Randy since he's home consistently all through the day? Like, what is it like coming into home? How do you support? How do you interact with your kids? What does it look like for that dynamic with you all?
Yep, I'd say every day it's a little different. I also love the name adjunct. I never thought about like my role as that. So typically, like when I get off work, we'll do dinner, and then after dinner, we'll read a book together, from a learning standpoint. And then dinner time, we will talk about what they learned during the day or what they did during the day. And then on the weekends, we dive a little bit deeper into some stuff, just depending on the weekend, but we'll do like their math stuff, or do some more reading. Not every day is consistent. Like I wish we did more always, but that's typically what the teaching looks like from my perspective.
Okay, so you kind of jump in a little bit here and there, maybe doing like more of a focus study with them or something that Randy might need some help with, right? Like just a backup support, which is really great. You don't see yourself as just coming in and landing and just chilling at all, right? You jump right into family life, don't you?
There's always more to be done, but
that's good.
Yeah, there are many days where it's like just I'm exhausted from work and I just want to like sit, and watch them play or hang out. And so we don't always do as much as like I wish we could, but like that's what we strive for, is just to do reading with them, or just to talk about what they're learning.
So when it comes to like transitioning back, I hear men often say that they kind of have to like switch gears on their way home. They have to go from like work mode to like home mode, and sometimes it takes a little bit of a time to transition. Do you have that, or do you think because you're female and a woman, you maybe aren't so much of a box thinker, but more like the spaghetti style? Have you ever heard that waffles versus spaghetti? Yeah. Like men are very box thinkers often, not always, but and women, it just kind of flows together. Do you find that it's hard to switch job off, home on when you get home, or is that pretty easy for you?
I would say like typically it's the drive home, but then when I'm at home, sometimes like work lends itself into the early evening hours with just needs, and so it is hard to switch off sometimes, and in that way. But yeah, that's a good
Any advice for doing that? You use your drive home usually to kind of make that shift?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't like actively pursue it, but like when I'm home, I try to be present with the kids, and like as soon as I open the door, they're all running to like greet me at the door and screaming and yelling and just so excited. So at least the age, I know there will come a time when they won't be so excited to see me and greet me at the door, but
teenage years, hopefully still.
But for now, I gotta enjoy it.
I love that.
Them coming to like attempt to tackle me.
That's a good attempt to tackle you. I love it.
But yeah, usually like by the time I get home, we're doing dinner, and so I think that's also a good just way to transition into like the evening at home.
Yeah. Do you make dinner once you get home, or does Randy typically have it ready?
Randy will make it. Yeah, and then the weekends, like I'll be the one making dinner.
Okay. So you meal plan together then, because you're kind of
lots of opportunity there.
Yeah,
We try. I know like Randy likes when I help with that, so that's like a very helpful thing.
Yeah.
But we don't do it as much as we should.
Okay. Okay. What's in the pantry? Make it work. Make it happen. Right? Yes. That's good. So because your roles look a little different, how do you maximize time with your husband? How do you get that time and maximize it? And any tips for, like, I guess the dads out there when you're coming in, and of course you got all the kids running at you and so excited to see you, but how do you still prioritize your husband and show him value in the midst of having 4 young kids? That's a lot.
Yes, no, and it's been a learning for us. Like I think having that open dialogue of just knowing like the time that each one of us needs to spend together. Usually our kids don't go to bed early because we try to maximize the time that like I'm at home after work with them. That's smart. So usually it's 9, sometimes later, that they're going to bed. And so really like the time that Randy and I get together is like after that point. And so that has been a really big challenge because usually I'm like, all right, I'm ready for bed. Like I'm tired. So it's been a learning process there, but just knowing that it's important to devote the time there. And then we try to proactively schedule, we aim for once a month, doesn't always happen, but like once a month, date nights where we're getting out without the kids. And so that's been also really helpful just to like talk and continue to, date each other along the way.
So great. That's good. What about like we're traveling right now? We're at a campground in Ocala, Florida, and so that's something we both enjoy doing, and we love all the experiences that we get with that. How have you seen your kids flourish through more like experience-based learning, and then everything that Randy does at home with? Yes, there's book work, but he really seems to take time to really unpack and dive into interests and topics and vocabulary and what does something mean, and really use those as opportunities to disciple, kind of like Deuteronomy 6, like as you go discipleship, right? So how do you see like school life experience, tactile experiences like this being a benefit to your family?
Yeah, no, it's one of our favorite things to do as a family is to travel or even just to be outdoors. Like we just love it. At home, we'll all go outside and play out in the front yard or go out in the back and do a campfire. And so it's just, we love being outside, going on walks and stuff like that. I grew up with the opportunity to camp with my family, and some of my favorite family memories are from those experiences. And so we are just so appreciative and grateful to have a similar opportunity to take our kids out and just experience different things together, and so when we plan trips, usually it involves figuring out what parks are in the area, what things can we do for low cost, no cost, to just go out and experience the new area, and then also some educational opportunities, and so just things they can learn. This time in particular, we went to the Discovery Center here in Ocala, which was great.
Yes, that was really fun.
And so it wasn't anything intense from a learning standpoint, but just opportunity to
they learn a lot by playing, right?
Yeah,
they just get
play
exposure
and interaction.
Yeah.
So that's been great, and each place we go to, we always try to go to somewhere new, just to explore the area and see what there is to offer. And so this has been just really great for the kids, for us as a family. It's a small space. We're constantly learning how to get along together as a family, especially as they get older, and start maybe having arguments, disagreements over various things, and one person wants to do one thing, the other person wants to do the other, and so it's just a learning experience in that way too. But it's been a great journey and adventure, and sometimes we don't have plans for a day, and we'll just go out and explore, and we love doing that as well.
Love that. So what would you say are probably the greatest benefits that you and Randy have experienced since starting the homeschool journey? What are some of the fruits maybe you've seen through that?
Yeah, I think there's been quite a few unexpected fruits. Going into it, I never realized how much I would also be enjoying the learning journey. So I'm getting to learn along with them, which has been a huge blessing there. And then also just getting to experience watching them learn something. When they were away at school for the day, they would go and they would come back and we'd talk about what they learned, but we didn't get to actively see them learning and struggling with a concept, or that was one of the biggest learnings we had last year with diving into the math stuff, is that our oldest stuff usually came easier for her, and I would say she wasn't challenged a ton, and so last year we were able to challenge her, and it was a big struggle. She was getting frustrated and just down on herself, and so but getting to watch her struggle with something and then persevere through it, and to talk through how to persevere, and in life you will have challenges and you'll need to work through it and be diligent and continue with it, and just getting to watch that learning journey of struggling with something, and then a few months later it's coming just coming quick to where she's understanding the concept. And so that was just a blessing to get to experience that, and it was when you navigate through a challenge with a child, it's not enjoyable at that moment, but getting through it and having the joy on the other side is a blessing, right? And so that's something I didn't going into homeschooling, we didn't know that would be something that we would get to experience and enjoy so much, and so that was a great opportunity. But that's some stuff.
That's great. So is there any advice or recommendations, or if you'd have a chance to share with the dads out there or the moms that are doing this even together, right? Because I think sometimes it's you see the mom is homeschooling, or the dad in this case is homeschooling, but the other is working. But yet what I'm hearing from you is it's not necessarily just one parent doing the schooling. One's maybe primary, right? But you still come in and you're still highly active in your family's life, in educating in the process and in supporting Randy in like maybe a teaching style, or being able to explain something to your kids in a way that they weren't able to glean before. So is there anything that you would recommend or encourage, or maybe even a resource that you would suggest for a family that's either considering starting or is in the process of this already?
Yeah, I would say with us, a lot of the decisions on like the curriculum we made together, or
Okay.
like Randy would find something and he would research it and figure out like would it work for us or not. And so like having that joint decision making, with the husband leading the way too, of even making decisions on what, like how either the format or the style of educating the children, I think that's huge.
Okay.
So that's one thing I would say is like a learning. And then something may work for a time and then you gotta figure out something different, or like by kid, like that's been another learning. That's like, yeah, each kid is so unique that they need something different. With one child, maybe they can only sit and focus on a subject in the beginning for 10 minutes. And so you
Right.
take that 10 minutes and
That's
then
real.
let them have 20 minutes of free play, so just having that flexibility has been something we've learned along the way as well.
So Randy, I have one more very important question to ask you. As a homeschool parent, I have a chocolate drawer. It's a secret chocolate drawer because sometimes you just need like a Hershey's Kiss to keep going or something like that. Do you have anything like that, or is that just a woman thing?
Oh, no. Every few days I will lock myself in the laundry room. It doesn't lock, so I put my foot there so they can't attack me. And I help myself to a cookie or a candy bar or a something. And I don't want to share because
You're doing laundry, right?
yes.
Yes,
that's
yes,
the laundry
yes.
room.
You're doing, so you go do laundry. That's perfect. And get your chocolate mix.
Yes.
I might go to the bathroom and get mine.
Yes.
I'll be like, everyone go outside for a minute and I'll get my secret stash of chocolate out.
Yes.
There's no shame
It's
there.
very, if you don't have that, I don't know how you get through the day.
I agree. All right, so I think that's the last piece of advice here for everyone
Yes.
is if you're a homeschooling parent, there's zero guilt trip
Yes.
so for having a chocolate drawer. We hope this has been a really special and helpful little segment here for you to learn just kind of what life looks like in a different dynamic. I know every homeschool dynamic looks different. Every family looks different, and it's supposed to. You're supposed to have your own flavor, right? Everybody has what fits their family, and it's going to look different in every family. I think it's so neat that Randy stays home with the kids and he's committed to that process and that journey, and that Kristine is also still submitting to his leadership in a beautiful way and supportive, but she's still functioning in a providing role. And so it's just beautiful how God works and allows families to look different, yet they can still honor him together. And so it's been a joy to know Randy and Kristine, and it's been a joy for you, hopefully, to hear their story. And we are excited to hear your story maybe someday.